Hey, welcome back to some more Opportunity for Health Accumulation. Dr. Matt here. So today we're talking about the difference between wild salmon and farm salmon. There's a big difference here. So straight to the point, you want to pass on the farm salmon, most commonly referred to as Atlantic salmon, and you want to go ahead and go out on a fishing boat and get some of that, wild caught Alaskan salmon. So growing up, I remember going to restaurants and my father, would ask the waiter if the salmon was wild or if it was farmed Atlantic salmon. And if they said that it was farmed, if it was Atlantic salmon, kind of curl up his nose a little bit and pass on that. Get the chicken, get the beef for the meal. And I was kind of embarrassed by this. Back then, you're like, Dad, you're like this waiter asking these questions. But now, I understand, and I realize how terrible, how gross farm salmon is, and how far removed farm salmon is from a wild salmon. And it really is, it's toxic, to the environment, to humans. And I have 5 reasons, we would do well to pass on the farm salmon. And if you haven't already subscribed, man, today's a great day. And while you're at it, be sure to find one single friend to share this health accumulation opportunity with, because a lot of people out there trying to be healthy, trying to support their being, and they're consuming farm salmon, which you're about to find out is not to our benefit. So farm salmon contains high levels of chemicals, contaminants like PCBs, like dioxins, pesticides. I mean, really, it should be on the dirty dozen list, farm salmon. Once again, this comes down to overcrowded living spaces, overcrowded living conditions, and their processed food diet that these fish are being fed. All this soybean meal, this corn meal, this canola oil. We're talking about us humans not eating this, but they're feeding this to the fish. It is so weird, but the reason given for why farmed salmon are fed this toxic diet is to protect the environment. Unfortunately, once again, we fail to recognize that God's plan is far superior than any humanistic way of going about things. So, just that one point seems like enough reason to avoid farm salmon. But unfortunately, that's not all the terribleness that is related to farm salmon. Farm salmon, they're treated with loads of antibiotics and other pharmaceuticals to combat diseases that are spread easily in these overcrowded fish farms. Just like the chickens, just like the cattle that are in these cages essentially, and all swished together, and how they're prone to disease and dysfunction and a decreased overall health of the animal and of the meats that we eat. Same thing happens with these fish. When they're taken out of their natural environment, taken out of their natural stressors, and all stuck together, huddled together, not getting their regular exercise, they get diseased. And we think, when it comes to humans, like, how do we spread disease? What is the easiest way for us to spread disease? How does it spread fast and easily? It's like college dormitories, it's military barracks, it's big cities. Same thing happens with animals. So when antibiotics are used in fish or animals generally, they promote antibiotic resistant bacteria, which, those contaminate fish that we consume. And then we are in a state of a rough spot when it comes to humans. And the bacteria, really are difficult to treat, which is why the word resistance is used. So the more antibiotics we pour onto these fish, in these fish farms, the more challenging our life becomes. Why do we do this to ourselves? Mind-boggling. When antibiotics are routinely administered to animals, it can create an environment in which bacteria evolve and become more resistant to the drugs. And so they got to use more often. These resistant bacteria, unfortunately, can then be transmitted to humans. This isn't like some just plastic bubble these fish are living in. These they're getting out. They're in the environment. So this can be direct contact with animals. This can be through consumption of contaminated food. Can be through contact with contaminated water or soil. farm salmon, on top of all of this, you may have noticed, but they don't have a deep pink orange color like wild salmon do because they're not feasting on shrimp and krill, which are loaded with this pigment called astaxanthin. You may have heard of astaxanthin for people's eyes and skin, how just awesome it is, because astaxanthin is this powerful antioxidant. But of course, the farm fish or the farm fisheries, they're not about helping humans. I'm guessing they're purely money machines. So farm fish, they're pumped full of artificial dyes to make the farm salmon flesh, look colorful and look alive. When that Atlantic salmon is out there just crunching away on those shrimp, and they're getting the astaxanthin naturally. And since farm salmon are low in omega-3 fatty acids because they're getting fed soybean and corn oil and canola oil and a corn diet, then farmers then have to give them, supplement them with omega-3s to help that omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, which, what is the main thing we think about when it comes to fish eating? Is omega-3 fatty acids, right? Fish oil, hello. But even that doesn't meet the wild-caught omega-3 levels of just naturally consuming these high omega-3 fatty acids out in the environment. This would really be like analogous to the standard American. You go and eat McDonald's or you go and eat Taco Bell on a regular basis, but then each night you supplement with a fish oil capsule, and you think, wow, I'm so healthy, I took fish oil. It doesn't negate the fact you eat McDonald's and Taco Bell every day this week. And so on top of that, consider this: a 4-ounce piece of salmon has about 2,400 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids in it. That's amazing. That's like a tablespoon of fish oil in one little 4-ounce, card deck size piece of salmon. And I'll admit, when I'm eating salmon, I'm usually eating like 8 ounces, 12 ounces. So you can get so many omega-3 fatty acids in actual freshwater, wild-caught salmon. And to make matters even worse, I have one more for you: lice infestation. Lice infestation is rampant in farm fish and in farm salmon, as well as parasite infestation. It literally is out of control. And so I suggest let's stick to the wild salmon. Farmers just load on environmental toxic chemicals to get rid of the lice, get rid of the parasites. But the more chemicals employed, the more resistant the lice are, the more resistant the bacteria are, the more resistant the parasites are. And so we've got to add even more. And then the more potential for humans to get sick. And there's literally no end to this cycle. So one final note related to mercury. Generally speaking, compared to fish as a whole, salmon are pretty low on the mercury scale. But farm salmon do have more mercury in them than wild-caught salmon, just because of like what we've been talking about as far as the environment they're raised in, the food they're consuming, and just the chemical cesspool they're swimming around in all the time. I feel bad for these fish. So the thing is, consuming wild salmon, it is an amazing strategy for health accumulation. I love that Alaskan caught wild salmon, grab it off the boat. It is loaded with anti-inflammatory fatty acids, to build those beautiful cell membranes, as well as vitamin D, B12, selenium, potassium, and of course that beautiful astaxanthin, that pigment that works as an antioxidant to protect our eyes, protect our brain, protect our heart tissue. You're only getting that from the wild-caught stuff. And not only are you supporting your body when you're eating wild-caught salmon, you're supporting humanity and the natural flow of fish and really wildlife as a whole. So let me know what's your favorite way to cook up some wild-caught salmon. And if you've got a great salmon fishing story, catching story, I would love to hear that as well. I'm all ears. All right, I'm Dr. Matt. Hope this is helpful, and I'll see you guys, gals, next time.